Picture this. You wake up on a world where the sky is butterscotch orange, where a single breath of air would kill you in seconds, and where the temperature can plummet to minus 195 degrees Fahrenheit. This isn't some alien planet from a sci-fi movie. This is Mars. And if humanity ever leaves Earth permanently, this frozen, toxic desert might just be our new home. But here's the million-dollar question that keeps NASA scientists awake at night. Could we actually survive there? Not just visit for a few days like we did with the Moon, but really live, breathe, eat, and build entire cities on Mars. Today, we're diving deep into the brutal reality of the red planet, and the ingenious ways scientists think we might actually make it work. Trust me, the answers will surprise you. So why Mars? Why not Venus, or one of Jupiter's moons, or literally anywhere else in our solar system? The truth is, Mars is the closest thing we have to Earth. It's got a 24-and-a-half-hour day, almost identical to ours. It has seasons, polar ice caps, and evidence that liquid water once flowed across its surface. At roughly 140 million miles away at its closest approach, it's practically our next-door neighbor in cosmic terms. Mostly carbon dioxide that you can't breathe. The temperature, think Antarctica's worst day, then make it 10 times colder. The radiation? Let's just say you'd get a lethal dose faster than you can say space cancer. So how on Earth, or should I say, how on Mars, could we possibly survive there? Let's start with the elephant in the room, or should I say, the complete lack of elephants, or any life at all. Mars' atmosphere is thinner than a politician's promise. We're talking about less than 1% of Earth's atmospheric pressure. That means if you stepped outside without a spacesuit, your blood would literally start to boil. Not from heat, from the lack of pressure. And what little atmosphere Mars does have, it's 95% carbon dioxide. Imagine trying to breathe inside a giant soda bottle. You'd pass out in seconds. Then there's the cold. Mars is about 50% farther from the sun than Earth, which means it gets roughly half the sunlight we do. But at night, or during winter at the poles, we're talking minus 195 degrees Fahrenheit. That's cold enough to freeze carbon dioxide solid. But wait, it gets worse. Remember how Earth's magnetic field protects us from deadly space radiation? Mars lost its magnetic field billions of years ago. Not little whirlwinds. We're talking planet-wide dust storms that can last for months, turning day into night and coating everything in a fine, toxic powder that would make your lungs feel like you've been chain-smoking sandpaper. Mars isn't just unfriendly to human life, it's actively hostile. But here's where human ingenuity gets absolutely mind-blowing. NASA and private companies like SpaceX aren't just dreaming about Mars. They're actually solving these problems one by one. Let's start with breathing. Remember that mostly carbon dioxide atmosphere. Well, NASA has already figured out how to turn that into oxygen. They sent a device called MOXIE to Mars on the Perseverance rover, and it's literally pulling oxygen out of thin Martian air. It works like a reverse combustion engine, using extreme heat to split co-molecules and extract oxygen. One small MOXIE unit produces about 5 grams of oxygen per hour, enough for about 10 minutes of breathing. Scale that up to the size of a small car, and you could produce enough oxygen for an entire crew. But that's not all. We could also grow plants in pressurized greenhouses. Plants don't just produce oxygen, they also scrub CO from the air and provide food. It's like having a living, breathing life support system. Now, where would we live? Forget those sci-fi domes on the surface. That's a radiation death trap. Mars has thousands of lava tubes, basically natural underground tunnels formed by ancient volcanic activity. These caves provide natural protection from radiation, temperature swings, and dust storms. We're talking about ready-made underground cities just waiting for us to move in. For more temporary housing, NASA is developing inflatable habitats that could be deployed from spacecraft. Think of them as high-tech camping tents, but ones that can withstand the vacuum of space and create a livable environment inside. Food is another fascinating challenge. Forget about hunting and gathering. Mars has no edible life whatsoever. So we'd need to become the ultimate farmers. NASA has actually been experimenting with growing crops in simulated Martian soil, and the results are surprisingly promising. Potatoes, tomatoes, and even wheat can grow in specially treated Martian dirt, though you'd need to add some earth nutrients and create a controlled environment. Hydroponics. Growing plants in nutrient-rich water instead of soil might be even better. It uses less space, produces higher yields, and gives you complete control over growing conditions. Imagine vast underground hydroponic farms feeding an entire Martian colony. Water might actually be Mars' secret weapon for human survival. Those polar ice caps, they're not just for show. Mars has enormous deposits of water, ice both at the poles and buried underground across much of the planet. We could mine this ice, melt it, and purify it for drinking water. Even better, we can split water into hydrogen and oxygen, rocket fuel and breathable air, all from Martian ice. Energy is the final piece of the puzzle. Solar panels could work on Mars, though they'd be about 40% less efficient than on Earth, due to the greater distance from the sun and frequent dust storms. That's why many scientists favor nuclear power for Mars colonies. Small nuclear reactors could provide reliable, continuous power, regardless of weather or season. NASA is already developing portable nuclear systems specifically for space missions. But here's something that might surprise you. The biggest challenge of living on Mars might not be technological at all. Think about this. Mars is, at minimum, a 6-month journey from Earth. During certain orbital alignments, you literally cannot return home for over 2 years. You're looking at the ultimate long-distance relationship with your entire planet. The isolation would be crushing. No fresh air, no blue sky, no spontaneous walks in nature. Just you, your crewmates, and an endless expanse of red dust outside your window. The psychological term for this is Earth out-of-view phenomenon. They've learned that crew selection is crucial. You need people who are not just technically skilled, but psychologically resilient, socially compatible, and able to cope with extreme stress. Mental health support would be essential. Maybe that means virtual reality systems that let you visit Earth. Depending on planetary positions, a message from Mars can take anywhere from 4 to 24 minutes to reach Earth. Imagine trying to have a phone conversation with a 20-minute delay between each response. So when might this actually happen? SpaceX's Elon Musk famously wants to put humans on Mars by 2029, though many experts think the 2030s is more realistic. NASA's official goal is to land astronauts on Mars sometime in the 2030s or 2040s. But here's what's really fascinating. Mars might not be the endgame. It could be humanity's first step toward becoming a truly spacefaring species. The technologies we develop for Mars, closed-loop life support, radiation shielding, sustainable food production, psychological support for long-duration missions, these same innovations could take us to the moons of Jupiter, to Saturn, maybe even to other star systems. Mars could be our training ground for the galaxy. Some scientists even talk about terraforming Mars, gradually transforming its atmosphere and climate to become more Earth-like. We're talking about a project that would take hundreds or thousands of years. But theoretically, we could thicken the atmosphere, warm the planet, and maybe even create breathable air across the entire surface. So, could we actually survive on Mars? The science says yes, but it won't be easy, and it won't be cheap. We're talking about the greatest engineering challenge in human history, combined with a psychological test that would push our species to its absolute limits. But here's the thing that gives me chills. We're not just talking about survival anymore. The red planet may be trying to kill us, but it might also be the key to ensuring that human consciousness, human creativity, and human dreams survive long into the cosmic future. So what do you think? Will humans really colonize Mars in our lifetime? Or are we just dreaming too big?